Everything we do here at James Project focuses on caring for vulnerable women and children because we believe that's the call that God has placed on every one of us as Christians.
Hey, we're back with another podcast and another special guest. And we have Vanessa again with us translating. Thank you, Vanessa. And Tracy, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what your role is at the project?
Okay, Spanish is okay.
Yep.
Okay, mi nombre es Tracy Alonso y trabajo como abogada y notaria del Hogar Sombra de sus Alas.
My name is Tracy Alonso, and I work as a lawyer at James Project.
Okay, well, thank you for being with us today. And tell me, what was your first introduction to the project? How did you first come to know about the James Project?
Ok, empecé a conocer del proyecto por mi hermana que estuvo en el hogar.
So I met the project due to my sister since she was in the project.
Okay.
Eso fue en 2008.
That was in 2008.
Mm-hmm. So did you come to live at the project then, or you just came to know about it?
En 2008, 20 de agosto de 2008, mi hermana tuvo una audiencia en la ciudad y el juez preguntó si ella quería irse a vivir con mi familia y ella dijo que no. Entonces el juez me preguntó y fue de esa forma que yo entré al hogar.
So on 20th of August of 2008, my sister had an audience in the city, and the judge asked my sister if she wanted to live in the project or go back to my family, and she said that she wanted to go back to the project.
Eso sí, fue cuando conocí al hogar y cuando llegué al hogar, los dos.
That was when I knew about the project and when I met the project and I started living there.
Okay. All right. So did you enjoy being at the project as a young person? How old were you?
Cuando entré al hogar tenía 15 años y realmente me gustó mucho el hogar.
When I entered the project, I was 15 years old and I enjoyed and I liked the project.
Okay. How long did you stay at the project?
3 años.
3 years.
Great. And so you were 18, so you kind of aged out of the project. And then you went to live on your own?
Sí, después de que viví por 3 años ahí, estuve viviendo para mí son como padres adoptivos, Steve y Anna Limber, de Canadá. Entonces estuve viviendo con ellos desde los 18 hasta que nació, hasta 2013.
So after living there, I lived with my adoptive parents, Steve and Anna.
De 2011 a 2013.
So from 2011 to 2013, she started living with them.
Okay. And were they from Guatemala, your adopted parents?
Ellos son de Canadá.
They're from Canada.
But they were living in Guatemala.
Ellos eran misioneros del hogar.
They were missionaries at the project.
Oh, wow. That's pretty remarkable. That's an interesting experience, a different, unique experience, right?
Sí.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have contact with them?
Sí, todavía.
Yes, we do.
They don't live down there anymore, correct?
No, ellos están en Canadá.
No, they live in Canada.
Do they visit?
Sí, antes visitaban 2 o 3 veces al año, pero por negocios y estudio de los hijos de ellos están allá.
Yes, before they would visit 2 or 3 times a year, but now due to business and education with the other siblings that they have, then they don't come that often.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, we have technology where you can FaceTime and still see them, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when did you come back to work at the project?
Mm, regresé a trabajar después de que estuve viviendo con ellos. Ayudaba no muy a menudo, em, ayudaba a traducir cartas o a traducir para noche de patrocinadores y empecé a trabajar ya en oficina en el 2018.
So after I lived with them, I would help a bit at the project, translating letters or translating for sponsorship night. And when I actually came and started working at the project was in 2018.
Okay. And what was your role to begin with when you came back?
Cuando regresé, estaba en el área de patrocinios, recibía cartas, traducía, recibía los regalos, les daba, era como intermediaria de patrocinador con los niños.
When I came back, I started like a sponsorship assistant. I would receive the letters, give it to the kids, give the gifts to the kids. So I was mostly helping, like the assistant of sponsorship coordinator.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, the sponsorship coordinator was a missionary that had to go back and forth, correct?
Así es.
Yeah. Now you're the lawyer for the project. How did that come about?
Bien, atiendo las audiencias de los niños en la ciudad, en los departamentos y algunas veces por Zoom.
Good. I assist the audience sometimes in the city and or sometimes also by Zoom.
Mm-hmm. But were you going to university while you were doing the sponsorship assistant job?
Sí, todavía estaba en la universidad cuando estaba en el área de patrocinios, entonces eso ayudó un poco para practicar el inglés y poder estar todavía en la universidad.
Yes, so I was going to college and I was helping out at sponsorship. So that kind of helped me practice with my English. And I was also assistant to college.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you got your degree to be a lawyer just in the last couple of years, correct?
Sí, me gradué hace como 2 años de abogada.
Yes, I graduated as a lawyer 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how much contact you still have with your biological family, but if you do you know if you're the first of your biological family to go to university?
Posiblemente soy la segunda.
Possibly I'm the second one.
Okay. Do you still have any contact with your biological family?
Sí, siempre llamadas o no muy seguido las visitas, pero sí los visito todavía.
Yes, mostly calls. I don't visit them that often, but we do get in contact.
And the sister that you lived with at the project as well, do you see her on a regular basis? Is she still in the area or do you not?
Ella está viviendo como a 6 horas de donde estoy aquí en Monjas. Entonces, casi que no coincidimos mucho en cuanto a las visitas con la familia, pero ya de vez en cuando, tal vez un mensaje o cosas así.
We live about 6 hours away, so it's really difficult to get on the same page when we go and visit our family, but we kind of get in contact sometimes.
Okay. What is the best part of your job, being the lawyer of the project?
La verdad que me gusta ir a las audiencias con los niños porque cuando estaba dentro del hogar, solo escuchaba como, el juez lo mandó con su familia o tiene problemas de abuso o cosas así, pero por medio de mi trabajo me he dado cuenta de, por ejemplo, citas con INASIF, hasta médico legal o del por qué los niños siguen con nosotros, si hay familia que pueda hacerse cargo o si hay otro recurso familiar o si hay otra opción para los niños y si no, ellos regresan con nosotros buscando el bienestar de ellos.
So I like to go to the audience to the city with the kids because it gives me an example. I was in the project already. And when I was a kid, I would only hear, oh, they send it back with their family, or oh, they're coming back. But I never had like the full detail of what was going on. So now that I can go and I can see if they do have a family member that they can go with, why they're still with us, why they're going to go to the doctor, or why they're going to go to another department to see the situation that they're going through. It gives me another view of everything.
Mm. Helps you understand the fuller picture, I'm sure. And I bet it gives you an opportunity as well to talk to these kids that you're traveling into the city with, because it's a long drive, and share parts of your story with them. Do you find that you find yourself doing that to try to encourage them?
A veces me era más fácil compartir con ellos cuando estaba en el área patrocinios porque yo los entrevistaba, entonces habían veces que ellos como yo no quiero estar acá o cosas así, entonces yo explicaba parte de mi historia, que yo fui parte del hogar, entonces ellos, wow, usted fue parte del hogar y cosas así. Entonces creo que me ayudaba más cuando estaba en patrocinios.
Sometimes I think it was easier for me when I was in the sponsorship position, because I would talk to them or I would ask them questions and they would tell me, oh, I don't want to be here. And then I was able to give them a little backstory of my life and how everything could be in the project. So it was a little different when I was sponsoring, in the sponsoring position.
Gotcha. So, are you glad that you have the opportunity to advocate for them? Is that something that, as the lawyer, do you get to? I'm not sure how the audiences work there. If you get to speak up for them, or if you're just there with them, do you get to advocate for what's best for them?
Sí, normalmente se presentan informes que son preparados por los psicólogos del hogar y por los trabajadores sociales. Siempre yo los leo para el juez, y hay algo extra que uno da como opinión, como no, los niños es mejor que queden en el hogar, o el recurso familiar todavía no está listo. Entonces, no es como mucha oportunidad que los jueces nos dan a hogares, pero hay jueces que tenemos el favor de algunos jueces, entonces ellos nos dan como la oportunidad de opinar.
Yes, we usually show them like a form that we do with all the information that the psychologist and that the social worker updated about the kid, and we present that when we're in the audience. But we do have like a little time where the judge gives the opportunity to give an opinion about what we think, and then we can say yes, they can go back, or no, the family still has to work in other areas of their life to have them back. We have some judges that are on our side, and they give us that opportunity to talk about the kids.
Mm-hmm. And there are probably other judges who just make the decision without any input.
Así es.
Right? Yeah. That must be kind of frustrating to know when you can see the family that shows up and know what's going on and know that they have to go back to that. How do you process that?
Es difícil porque como representante del hogar, nosotros queremos que los niños tengan más oportunidades, y es lo que explico yo a los chicos o a las chicas, que nosotros no es que los queramos tener por siempre en el hogar, pero queremos asegurarnos de que ellos van a ir con una familia que esté lista o que esté preparada para poder tenerlos a ellos, y que no regresen al mismo círculo de sufrimiento al que estaban antes de llegar al hogar.
It's frustrating because what we want, and I explained it to the girls and the boys at the project, is that what we want in the project is for them to have the opportunity to be better in life and to break that cycle that they came in with. So it's frustrating to see how they just get sent back with the same people.
The hope is always that the family has learned some things and gotten rid of some of the patterns that were causing the child to be pulled out, right?
Yeah.
What kind of support do they have? Do they, like up here, we have social workers that work with the families to do visitations and things like that, and to give them steps that they have to take to show that they're ready for their kids back. Is that the same kind of process down there or similar?
Cuando los jueces quitan a los niños, ellos los envían a escuela para padres, a terapia psicológica y, por ejemplo, si consumen alcohol o drogas, los envían a instituciones, por ejemplo, Secatil. Entonces, al momento de la audiencia, ellos presentan constancias si han estado cumpliendo con eso. También visitar a los niños, llamar a los niños y el hogar extiende esos documentos para demostrar que sí han estado visitándoles. Entonces, si ellos, los padres, cumplen con eso, los jueces dicen, bueno, está listo, pero creo que no sería tanto esa preparación, sino que más allá de, por eso es que también el hogar cuenta con el programa de Family Care para poder darle seguimiento a los niños que se van.
So everything is a process when the kids are taken away from their parents. Their parents are supposed to go to um, therapy. If they have alcohol problems, there is, she mentioned the name of the department where they go to receive like alcoholic and all that classes. And they also have to visit the kids. They also have to have a contact when the kids are in the project. But I don't only think that the process should be when they're outside without them, but after. We do have our family care program. That's the one that checks them out and see how they're doing. But it's important for them to also go through all this therapy and classes after they have them back too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so thankful for the family care program because I remember visiting the project and finding out that sponsored kids had gone home and we had no idea because the family care program didn't exist. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to keep tabs on them to make sure that it's still a healthy situation for them. And that's always the hope that their biological family will be healthy and well and able to go back to. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are kids that go home and then end up back at the project. How is that for you? That must be hard to know that not only were they pulled out once because it wasn't healthy, but then they had to go through it again. It must be hard.
Sí, es difícil. Ayer tuvimos una situación que de dos hermanos y dos hermanas. Los cuatro son hermanos, dos chicos y dos chicas. El juzgado estaba pidiendo espacio para tenerlos de regreso y ellos habían sido reintegrados con la familia más o menos como en febrero o marzo y ayer estaban pidiendo espacio para poder regresarlos porque la familia ya no podía tenerlos. Entonces sí es un poco difícil y no solo ese caso, hemos tenido más, hemos tenido el caso de Angelito y Saraí. Luchamos como por un año para tenerlos de regreso porque no estaban bien con su familia y así hemos tenido muchos casos.
Yes, it's difficult. Yesterday we had a experience. We were at the audience and we saw 4 siblings that were at the project already, and they're 2 boys and 2 girls, and they left in February or in March, and the judge was asking for space for us to take them back in the project because their family couldn't take them anymore and didn't have like the resources to have them anymore. So it's really hard to see that, and that's just one of the cases. We've had many more, like Angel and Sarah. We suffered for about a year to get them back to the project because they were at another home, and it's difficult situations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it's not always a guarantee that if they're taken out a second time that they'll make it back to the project, correct?
Sí.
Yeah. And some other homes, there may be some other homes that are good in the country, but there are some that are not so good. So it must be hard to watch that unfold for these kids. Mm-hmm. So how has your life changed from your experience at the project as a young person and now even as an adult, or maybe just one or the other?
Sí, cuando era pequeña, pues miraba que estuve en el hogar, miraba todos los casos de las niñas y era como siempre lo hablábamos, en ese tiempo estaba Yonit y a veces las chicas se peleaban o cosas así y creían tener como el problema de ellas era más grande que el de otros y pues cada quien tiene su problema de diferente forma, pero ahora que estoy como más de cerca con los casos de los niños y todo eso, eh, cada día hay nuevas experiencias, nuevas cosas como nunca vamos a encontrar un caso que sea más terrible o más difícil. Creo que cada uno de los niños tiene su historia y la verdad que sí me gusta la experiencia que he tenido.
Um, the experience has been different because since when I was in the project, I would hear the stories of every kid, and Jonid was there in that time, and a lot of the girls thought that their problem was bigger than the person next to them. But now that I can see every story, I feel like there's not a bigger one or the most baddest one. It's just that everyone has their own story, and everyone has their suffer in their story. So I like the experience of being closer to every story of the kids.
Mhm. It's a lot to carry around in your brain, though, and in your heart. Um, how do you keep an open heart for these kids when you see what happens to them outside, and why they end up there, and you see the hurt that that causes? How do you ever feel yourself getting frustrated with the adults in the situation, just worn down from the hard stories that you hear?
Sí, a veces es difícil porque como hogar o como representante del hogar nos gustaría tener a todos los niños, los de la calle, todos los niños que tienen problemas y todo eso, pero la verdad que como institución hacemos lo que podemos. Muchas veces sí es frustrante las decisiones que los jueces toman, porque siento yo que muchas veces es solo como, un caso más, y pues a la larga no están haciendo lo que en realidad deberían de hacer por el cuidado de los niños.
It's difficult because as somebody that represents the project, it's a we would love to grab all the kids that are in the streets or all the kids that we see in the city with the audience and bring them to the project, but unfortunately we can't do that, and it's hard to see and it's frustrating to see the decision that sometimes the judge makes because they just see it like, oh, it's another case and another case and another case. They don't see it as if they would be in those shoes of the kids there. So that's a frustrating part of it.
And having been one of those kids, it's probably easier for you to put yourself in their shoes and recognize, because I think that's something that the project does well. You tell me what you think, because I didn't live there, but I feel like the project does a very good job recognizing each child individually and letting them know that their story matters. That you're right. This child over here, his story is not bigger or worse or needs more. Everyone seems to be equally valued and important, and their stories matter. But you tell me, am I picking up on that correctly?
Sí, creo que como adultos debemos hacerle sentir a los niños que su caso importa, posiblemente por ocupaciones o cosas que nosotros tenemos, tal vez ellos sienten que le damos menos valor, pero la verdad, para mí, todos los niños, todos los casos, no hay caso pequeño, no hay caso grande. Puede ser que con algunos niños cuesta un poco más, pero es por eso que estamos, es por eso es que es la casa hogar. Y recuerdo yo que a veces cuando llaman y hacen algún traslado de otro hogar, porque en otro hogar es como una fila de, de literas en un cuarto, como quien dice, un cajón, y ahí están todos. Entonces, en cambio, aquí no. Aquí está la casita, están los padres sustitutos con sus familias biológicas y tienen a 12 niños o niñas a cargo y cada una tiene una cama, cada una tiene un closet, cada una tiene un lugar donde se sienta. Entonces, pienso que con pequeñas cosas es donde se les demuestra a los niños también como la individualidad, lo especial que es cada uno.
Yes, as adults, we have to see And we see the difference in every story that these kids bring. Maybe sometimes due to job and stuff that we get all busy and doing, we might not be there and show them that that's important to us. But that's what we're here for. And we're here for the difficult situations, because there are some kids that are really easy to go, and then we have others that are really, really difficult, but it's because of the same thing. And here in the project, it is totally different, because in other homes, it's like it's a big room, like a big salon, and there's bunk beds in all the salon, and everybody sleeps together. But here in the project, it's the house and the parents that are in charge of the house, and biological kids have their own room. And then each girl has their own bed. Each girl or boy has their own closet, so they can see the difference and how important they are. And we make them feel also.
Yeah, I think that is one of the beautiful things about the project is it's family oriented. You're trying to give them a healthy picture of what family looks like and show them how important and valuable they are. I know I've talked to a couple of other girls who live there and have come back to work as well. And that's one of the things that they repeatedly say is that they felt important and valued and realized that their life could look differently than their biological family. But without that support and encouragement from the house parents and the staff and the way the project is run, they probably wouldn't have had that. Do you feel like that is your has been your experience as well, having grown up there for a little bit?
Sí, sí, ha sido una de las experiencias porque los 3 años que estuve ahí, eh, por lo menos a los que me cuidaron, yo sentí que sí era como un hogar.
Yes, at least the 3 years that I was living there, I did feel that the persons that were in charge of me and was taking care of me felt like home.
That's great because 15 kids at 15 don't typically like authority, even if they're even if it's your biological parents. I know that I pushed back on my mom an awful lot when I was 15. So that's good to hear that because I'm sure you might have had a bit of a teenage attitude having and being uprooted from where you were and everything you knew to live in a strange place with people you didn't know and being told what to do and you had some freedoms, but you also had to keep the rules if you were going to stay and things like that. Was that a challenge?
Creo que para mí no fue difícil porque mi abuelo era estricto, entonces al venir al hogar tenía las normas de cortesía, me gustaba ayudar, entonces actitudes, tal vez estuve disciplinada 2 veces, una por pegarle a mi hermana y otra por estar molesta.
So I don't think it was that difficult for me, because my grandparent, he was really strict with me. So I've always had my manners in place. And with attitude, I don't think so either. I always love to help in the house. And I think I was only put like in timeout for 2 times. One because I hit my sister, and the other one because I was angry at something.
Hmm. So your grandfather is who you lived with before. Did he come and visit you when you lived at the project?
Sí, es mi abuelo, solo antes las visitas eran en la ciudad, entonces las visitas eran una vez al mes y él iba constantemente, nunca se perdía las visitas.
Yes. So before, the visits were in the city. So he would go every time. It was once per month, and he would go every time we had a visit. He never left a visit.
Hmm. So it sounds like he was a good grandfather.
Sí.
Mm-hmm. So would you mind sharing why he decided to have you live at the project?
Estábamos en la audiencia del 20 de agosto y mi hermana no quiso irse con la familia. La intención era que mi hermana regresara con la familia, pero al momento de decir ella no, la jueza me preguntó a mí si yo quería estar con mi hermana en el hogar, no para recuperar los 10 años que no teníamos de vernos, sino que empezar un vínculo con ella. Pero al mismo tiempo mi abuelo dijo que vio que mi hermana estaba estudiando y dijo, posiblemente van a tener mejor oportunidad allá. Entonces es por eso que él dijo que estaba de acuerdo que yo viniera al hogar con mi hermana también.
So the day that we had audience on August 20th, and my sister decided that she didn't want to go back to the family, because supposedly she was going to be back at the family, but when she decided that she wanted to go back to the project, the judge asked me if I wanted to go to the project, not to, recover those 10 years that we didn't know each other, but to like make a bond between sisters. And then my grandpa also saw that my sister was going to school, so he thought it was a better opportunity for me, for us to be at the project. So then he decided that that was the better option for us.
That must have been a hard choice for him, though, to let you go.
Sí.
Was it a hard choice to leave him?
No, no fue difícil porque también quería a mi hermana.
No, it wasn't hard because I also wanted my sister.
Yeah. And you hadn't seen her for 10 years?
Sí, 10 años desde que mi mamá había muerto.
Yes, 10 years since my mom died.
Wow. And when your mom died, that's when she went to the project?
No, ella estuvo con una familia en la ciudad y esa familia pues le falló a ella y después cuando ella ya tenía 13 años fue que entró al hogar.
No, she went with the family in the city, and after that family betrayed her, she entered the project when she was 13.
So how old were you when your mom died?
Tenía 5.
5 years old.
Wow. That's little. That must have been really hard.
Yeah.
And is that when you went to live with your grandfather?
Yes.
Do you have other siblings?
Sí, tengo 2 mayores que yo. Mi hermana de la ciudad que estuvo en el hogar, después sigo yo, mi hermana, y uno más que no sabemos dónde está.
Yes, I have 2 older. Then it's me, then my sister, the one that was at the project, and another brother, but we don't know where he is.
Do you have any connection to your dad?
No, desde que mi mamá salió embarazada, él está en Estados Unidos y nunca lo he visto.
No, since my mom was pregnant, he left to the States, and I've never seen him.
Wow. That's challenging. So a lot of times people that have had absent dads or no dad, it's hard for them to accept any kind of male leadership in their life as far as in that father role. And sometimes it makes it hard for them to see God as their father because that connection hasn't been there in reality as far as that relationship. Was any of that hard for you, or has it been?
No, pienso que no fue difícil.
No, I think it hasn't been hard.
Well, that is impressive. I'm glad. All right. So, what do you think would be different about your life if you had stayed with your grandfather instead of living at the project?
Creo que no sería abogada. Creo que sería lo único.
I think the only thing is that I wouldn't be a lawyer.
Well, that's a pretty big thing. You know, being a lawyer is a pretty important job. And those kids having you as their lawyer who has a heart for them and can relate to their stories, that's a pretty important role. So what exactly brought you back to the project? How old were you when you came back?
Como 27, 26, 27.
Around 26, 27 years old.
Mm-hmm. So what brought you back to the project?
Tiffany, bueno, siempre me gustó ayudar en traducir porque me ha gustado la comunicación con los grupos que visitan, pero estudiar el inglés sí no me ha gustado.
I've
Entonces,
always,
oh,
I've always liked being in the project. I like translating to the teams that have visited the project, but I've never loved to learn or study English.
entonces un día Tiffany llegó a la casa y me dijo que si quería apoyar en oficina, en área de patrocinios, pero en oficina. Entonces, yo sin pensarlo, porque me ha gustado, yo le dije, claro, por supuesto. Entonces, empecé inmediatamente.
So Tiffany came to the house and told me if I wanted to help out in the office as the sponsorship position. And I didn't doubt anything. And I said, yes, of course.
You have such an easygoing personality. I love that about you. You're like, no, it wasn't difficult. I just said yes. They are very blessed to have you. So you live in the area, far from the project, correct?
Así es, como a 3 kilómetros tal vez.
Yes, maybe around 3 kilometers, maybe.
Okay. And you have two daughters, two beautiful daughters. Yeah. How old are they now?
Anita tiene 11 y Camila 8.
Mm.
Anita is 11 and Camila is 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. What's it like to be a single mom?
Es difícil por la corrección, pero a la vez es bueno porque no tenemos que estar compartiendo como a los hijos.
It's hard. I think it's harder when you have to discipline the kids, but it's better because you don't have to be sharing the kids.
So again, there's your easygoing personality, just finding something good about that. That's fantastic. That's great. We can learn a lot from you, Tracy. So, what's the most challenging part of the job?
El poder tener el favor de todos los jueces a favor del hogar, no por que hagan favores a nosotros, sino que nos logren escuchar y que podamos omitir opinión nosotros como hogar para buscar el bienestar de los niños. Entonces creo que en este tiempo que he estado atendiendo las audiencias de los niños, me gusta que muchos en el juzgado ya me conocen y dicen, oh, sombra de sus alas, oh, ¿a quién trae? Y es como más amistad también, de mire, pueden recibir a tal niño, pueden recibir a tal niña, mire, fíjese que este es el problema. Entonces, creo que eso sería una de las principales cosas.
Being able to have the favor from the judges, being able to be heard out from them, and knowing what the best situation would be. It's really nice when I go to the audience and they already know and they say, oh, it's James' project. Do you have space for these kids? Or do you have space for how many we have? So I think having like a friendly environment and getting to know everyone, I think that would be one of the most challenging, is having the favor from the judges for us. Not because they're going to do us a favor, but for them to hear us out of what is the best for the kids.
Mm-hmm. And to know that you might have some insight because you're with these kids and you have support on staff. You have psychologists and social workers that meet with them. You have parents that love them. So you really have a good inside look to the children's hearts and their minds and where they're at emotionally and what might be best for them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that you being you are in a great role for developing those relationships because you're so easygoing and you're very fun to be around and you're just very optimistic. So it's easy to be around you. So I'm sure that you've developed some good relationships with judges and people in the courts to try to support those kids. And I'm sure that they see your heart for the project and for the kids. Most definitely for the kids. The project is just there for the kids. I'm glad that you're in that role.
Thank
you. What would you say to someone who might be considering visiting the project or supporting the project? What would you say about the impact that they could have?
Sí, he oído de algunos miembros de grupos que les ha impactado el venir acá, miran como más de cerca. Es diferente a escuchar una historia que a tener a la persona que es la dueña de esa historia y poder abrazarla o poder animarla. Creo que si están pensando en venir a visitar el hogar, creo que es una buena oportunidad para poder dar amor también a los niños y niñas, porque el tiempo que yo estuve y visitaban, se sentía bien la visita de cada uno de los grupos que venía.
I've heard team members say how good it is to be here and how impacting in their life it is. And I feel like it's really different when you just hear a story from a kid than when you have that person in front of you and you're able to hug them and hear their story out. It gives an impact. When I was in the project, I remember that they would visit us and it leaves a good thing in your heart. It's a big experience and it leaves so much to the kids when team members also come and visit us.
Mm. Yeah, it does make a huge difference to people that go down and visit. Yeah, I'm speaking from experience, to be able to see all of you working so hard to just provide for those kids and let them know that they're loved and cared for and valued and protected and safe. To see all of you working for that same goal and just focused on that same goal is and to see the results of that, it inspires us up here because we're pretty disunified, just because we all kind of live our own little lives, and sometimes we get together on Sunday at church or do an outreach of some sort, but you guys are there every day doing the work of loving on these kids and being the hands and feet of Jesus. So it inspires us to see what can be done when we work together, because working together, there are hundreds of kids, thousands at this point probably, that have been, their lives have been changed because of the work that you're doing and the goal that you're all unified toward, which is taking care of these kids and doing what's best for them. So definitely inspiring for people that go down, for sure. And it's fun. So what do you think, Tracy, would the legacy be for the James Project? When all is said and done, what do you think will be what's left behind?
Creo que el servir a la niñez y adolescencia, porque no solo, el hogar no solo ayuda o abriga a los niños, niñas y adolescentes, sino que también apoya a madres solteras, viudas, a los niños que han sido reintegrados con sus familias biológicas o familias sustitutas. De igual forma, el hogar se ha extendido tanto a la comunidad aquí en Monjas, porque se ha dado a conocer. Hubo una actividad del Día de la Biblia y todos es como hablando del hogar, hablando de Proyecto Santiago. El nombre de Proyecto Santiago pues ya es mencionado en muchos. Antes tal vez no era muy sonado, pero hoy ya son famosos.
I think the project doesn't only take care of the kids and youth that we have there, but it also takes care of widows, of single moms. The project has been named out so much now that the whole town knows about it, and it has extended so much because it helps the community. When they had the Bible Day and they were on the parade and the whole event, everybody was talking about James Project and James Project. So it's something that it's already extended, and we're known for everything that it does and for every person that we help out. So that's important.
Mm. And it must feel good to be part of it, to know that there's good work being done and people are recognizing that, and lives potentially outside of that project are being changed, right? I mean, certainly there are single moms and widows whose lives are being remarkably changed, and that has to ripple out to their kids and the community around them. I know there's one single mom who's created a tienda in her community that only gets water once a week, and she's tutoring kids in her area for school and really and providing snacks and healthy foods and just doing incredible things that she wouldn't have been able to do without the support and encouragement from the James Project and the Redeemed Women's Program. So you're right. It has far-reaching potential and help and support for others. So speaking of that, they just purchased land to build a widows community, correct?
Así es.
Yeah. What do you think that will be like? Just out of curiosity, what are your thoughts?
Creo que va a ser una gran oportunidad para aquellas personas que no tienen como un techo donde pasar la noche. Hay muchos, ayudo cuando vienen grupos, apoyo cierto tiempo. Entonces uno se da cuenta de que hay personas o de las que son parte del programa que han tenido como casitas después del río hechas con nylon, hechas con varitas de bambú o cosas así. Entonces, por eso pienso que es una gran oportunidad porque es cierto, van a haber reglas y estándares para que ellas puedan estar acá. Entonces, si ellas se sujetan a eso, creo que sería una gran oportunidad, no solo para ellas, sino que para sus niños y sus descendientes, ¿verdad?
I think it's going to be a big opportunity for those that don't have a roof where to sleep or to spend the night at. I've had the opportunity to help out when teams come down and we have visit families that live in difficult situations. Like, for example, when the river flew out and people were making their houses after with bamboo and plastics around it. So they are going to be rules and restrictions to be there. But if they hold to that and they follow along as everything as needed, then it's going to be a big opportunity for them and for their family.
Mm. Yeah, and like with any community, you have to have a set of expectations and standards for everyone to abide by so you can have some harmony and unity. So of course they'll have to agree to that vision and the ideas around what that community will look like. But I think you're right. I think it could have far-reaching impact to many generations to come.
Ujú.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine, because where we live, there are homeless people and there are people in great need, but the majority have running water and electricity. And so to think that even those simple things that we take for granted, most of us, and again, there are certainly hard stories here as well, but to think that that's a majority of people in the rural areas down there do not have those things, it's hard to fathom that kind of challenge. I remember we visited a family once had a young widow. She'd lost her husband and their well was dry and the neighbors up the road would offer them water like once a week, but she had a baby and I just don't know how you do that. They didn't have any electricity. It was just a shack they were living in and they didn't have water every day. It's really challenging. So I'm grateful that the project is able to expand and offer this land and this community for single moms and widows. I think it's going to be great. So your family, Tracy, it sounds like there's been some challenges throughout your life, your mom dying, your dad, not ever knowing your dad and your grandpa giving you up for a better situation. And not knowing exactly where your brother is. So lots of times family is our sense of identity and helps us to know who we are and gives us that sense of identity. And I know that up here, you'll hear adopted kids say that there's a piece of them missing because they don't know their biological family. Did you ever feel that with your family? And if so, I know Mama Carol talks all the time about even if you just visit the project, you're part of that family. And has the James Project been a source of family for you?
Sí, la verdad que acá se siente uno en familia, como te lo explicaba. No es que uno vaya a ser de menos a la familia, pero también existe la familia biológica y la familia del corazón. Y para mí, Proyecto Santiago es como la familia del corazón.
Yes, I feel here like I'm with family, and it's not like I'm betraying my biological
Mm-hmm.
family, but you have your biological family and you have your family from heart.
Yeah, I hear you. We've heard from some of the other girls that we've talked to about growing up there and now working there, that when they grew up there, or when they spent time there as kids, they really developed a faith and a saving faith in Jesus that they didn't necessarily have coming into the project, because their families were either didn't have any faith or they were Catholic. And we discussed the differences between Catholicism and Christianity down there. But where was your faith at when you were 15 and you came to the project?
Sí. Bueno, mi familia, un poco loca porque tengo familia católica, tengo familia cristiana evangélica, estuve recibiendo clases con los testigos de Jehová. Entonces, lo que sí siempre he tenido claro es que hay un Dios y que depende de nuestra relación con Él. No es necesario, yo soy de la idea que no es necesario ir a llenar una banca en la iglesia o dándose golpes de pecho que uno es santo, cosas así, pero lo que sí estoy segura es que hay un Dios.
So my family was had a lot of religions. In my family was Catholic. Then some of my family were Christian. And then I was also receiving classes with another kind of religion. So I was everywhere. But I'm the kind of person that believes in God. And I feel like you don't need to go and fill a spot at the bench or a chair of a church, or go to a church and feel or think that you're a saint when you're not. I have my faith in God, and I know that He exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a pastor in the States who says that people will say they don't want to come to church because they're just a bunch of hypocrites. And he's like, yeah, and we have room for one more. because, because none of us are saints, and that's not what it's supposed to be, right? Church is not supposed to be a bunch of saints just doing whatever. We're all broken. It's supposed to be a hospital and a place where broken people can feel loved and cared for and supported through their brokenness, right? Yeah. I know that Mama Carol's been instrumental in your life as far as your faith. Can you tell us a little bit about that relationship?
¿Con Mamá Caro? Ok. Con ella asisto a estudios bíblicos todos los domingos, solo que ahorita ella no está acá en Guatemala por algunos problemas de salud, pero normalmente estamos reuniéndonos cada domingo y ella está tratando de formar un grupo los días jueves para ver Chosen, la serie. Entonces, creo que es uno de los grandes trabajos que hace Mamá Caro, la parte de que fue la fundadora del hogar, el poder llamar en este caso, Glendy, Alejandra, Brenda y algunas otras más para poder reunirnos con ella y estudiar la palabra.
So with Mama Carol, I have a Bible study every Sunday. Right now, she's not here in Guatemala, so we are not having it, but we have that every Sunday. And she also she's trying to form a group on Thursdays where we see the series The Chosen, and then we talk about it. And I think it's a big part of her, because not only she was one of the foundations of the project, but she also tries to do this with Glendy, Alejandra, Brenda, and she tries to gather us to gives us more about God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's very motivated to share her faith. So The Chosen is a great series. I hope you do get to watch it. I think you'll really like it. What would you say is like the biggest takeaway or lesson that you learned the 3 years that you were there as a young person?
Creo que sería como el entender que el problema o las situaciones, circunstancias que pasan con cada una no tiene tamaño, no tiene como lo que decía con anterioridad, que tu problema es más grande es más pequeño que el mío. Y es lo que trato yo de explicar a las chicas, que, por ejemplo, un maltrato físico con un abuso sexual pueden parecer diferentes, pero si lo ponemos en otra perspectiva, viene siendo lo mismo porque están dañando a una persona. Entonces creo que eso sería una de las principales.
I feel like one of them would be, like I said before, not putting each situation with different sizes. Uh, and like I said before, we tell the girls that not because a sexual abuse is, you can see it different as a physical abuse is bigger one from the other, because at the end, both of them are hurting that person. So it's the same. So one of the one of them would be putting everything in the same size, not making a difference if a situation is bigger or harder or worse.
Mm, mm. Yeah, we get into trouble when we start to compare our our damage, right? Because you tend to diminish someone else's hurt, but for them that is just as hurtful as the hurt that you went through. It's painful all around, and no one should have to experience those. Is there anything else that you can think of that that really stands out to you as something that, had you not been at the Brick James Project, you might not have picked up in life as far as a lesson?
Creo que el hogar trabajó en mí en cuanto a disciplina y paciencia.
I think the project worked in myself in discipline and in patience.
Mm. Those are two very important character traits that people need, huh? Did you feel those were positive at the time, or are you just now able to look back and say that those were positive?
Aún sigo aprendiendo.
I still continue learning.
Yeah, yeah. We are all works in progress.
Ujú.
So when you were 15, or when you were younger, did you always want to be a lawyer?
Sí, siempre fue mi sueño desde 7 años.
Yes, it was always my dream since I was 7 years old.
Wow. Why? Like, that's a big dream for a 7-year-old to be a lawyer. Was there something that happened or someone you saw that inspired you?
Sí, creo que toda la situación que pasó con mis hermanos era como todos los adultos estaban hablando acerca de mi abuela, porque la que nos dividió a todos fue mi abuela biológica. Entonces yo como, yo voy a ser abogada, yo la voy a demandar, la voy a meter presa. Y en ese tiempo era malo la inspiración, pero con el tiempo, pues miraba ciertas injusticias o no sé, siempre me gustó como no hacer de menos a la gente y tratar de ayudarle.
Yes, I think it was because since I was 7 years old, I would hear the adults talk about my grandma, and my grandma was the person that divided us with my siblings. So I would remember saying, maybe in bad thoughts, I'm gonna be big and I'm gonna be a lawyer and I'm going to demand her and I'm gonna get her in prison. So I think that was one of the situations. It wasn't the best aspiration at that time, but I never wanted to make nobody feel betrayed or less than somebody else. So that was one of the reasons.
So it sounds like deep in your heart as a young kid, you had a sense of justice and wanting justice to be served.
Sí.
Yeah. Yeah. That would drive people to be a lawyer. That's a good thing. I know it's a negative situation, but now God's used it for good in your life, right?
Ujú.
Mm-hmm. So one of the other things the girls have talked about that the project helped them to do was to forgive their biological families for the hurt that they caused them. Have you forgiven your grandmother for splitting you up? Or is that something you still wrestle with?
Creo que cuando era pequeña sentía como un odio hacia ella, pero con el pasar del tiempo, pues pensándolo bien, creo que eran problemas entre mi abuelo y ella. Ella quería como hacer sufrir a mi abuelo, entonces por eso ella nos dividió a todos. Pero creo que ahora hace poco estábamos tratando de buscar para ver qué fue de ella, pero no, creo que ya no hay como un odio, posiblemente un resentimiento mínimo, pero ya no malos pensamientos para ella.
I feel like when I was little, I did. I had grudges against her, but when I grew up, I understood that she had problems with my grandpa, and she just wanted to, wanted to make him feel something bad, and that's why she divided us. So not anymore. I might feel something little, but not any grudges anymore. Either even we tried to look for her and see where she was. We weren't able to, but I don't feel nothing big for her anymore.
Well, that's really good, because that unforgiveness can really weigh us down and keep us stuck. So clearly, I mean, the fruit of your life, you can tell that you haven't held on to that, but I just wondered what you thought about that. Is your grandpa still around or no?
Sí, él está en la ciudad y lo llamo de vez en cuando y he tratado de visitarlo, pero estos meses sí han sido muy cargados de audiencias y otras cosas a hacer.
Yes, he lives in the city. And we talk. I've tried to go visit him, but we've been really busy with audience and other stuff at the project, and things that I have to do.
Mhm. Well, that's wonderful that he's still around, but he doesn't know where your grandmother is either.
No, él quisiera saber porque pienso que todavía la quiere.
No, I think he would like to know because I think he still loves her.
Aw. It sounds like she had a lot of anger in her heart for some reason
Ujú,
and took it out on him and you guys as a
ujú,
result, which is a bummer. That's too bad.
yeah,
That's sweet of him to still love her.
ujú,
Sounds like a wonderful man.
yeah,
I'm glad you still have contact with him.
thank you.
All right, Tracy. Well, I think you're amazing, and I'm very grateful that you are there for those kids. And I love your ability to just go with the flow, and you're lighthearted. It'll be okay. And just for your spirit to be able to do that makes you very easy to talk to, very easy to be around, a great friend, and a great support for, I'm sure, the staff that you work with and the people that you interact with at the courts. I'm sure everyone feels it. I know that Tiffany always feels it when she's there, and even when she's not, your love for her, and really appreciates it as well. I'm just grateful that you're there.
Thank
And
you.
I'm grateful for the friendship that you guys have. It's
Thank you.
fun to see. And I would encourage anyone who has not been down to go down just to hang out with the two of you. So, well, the kids, of course, but you guys are fun.
Thank
So,
you.
is there anything that we missed today, Tracy, that you want to share?
I think you cover everything.
Yeah, we didn't explain that you do know English, and that's why Vanessa wasn't translating for me, but was translating for you, because I don't know Spanish that well. So I did pick up on your children's ages, and their names, but that was about it. Get there eventually. I will get there.
Yes.
But thank you for spending this time with me today.
Thank you so
And
much.
keep doing what you're doing,
Okay.
and keep bringing joy. I'm glad you're there.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.